right, welcome into the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Thanks to our sponsors, Biscayne Bay Brewing, the official beer of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and of the Miami Marlins. If you're out here at FTX Arena tonight, make sure you check out the kiosks in the 100 level and 300 level. Get there early, particularly in the 100 level. That one gets busy. Tropical Bay IPA, they do sell that one there, Pastime Pilsner, and the many other great beers. You can also get them at your local Winn-Dixie, local Publix, local Whole Foods, our sponsor Quarterdeck, and lots of other places in South Florida. Check out the website for all the others. Also, our sponsor, MarkBrownPA.com, MarcBrownPA.com, the man with the plan. It's actually going to be out here tonight, so get a chance to talk to the Heat with him in person. But it's more important to talk about your future, particularly if you're young with a family. Make sure your family is set up. Go to MarkBrownPA.com or check him out in North Lauderdale, 954-566-5678, 954-566-5678. He's based right there just north of Cypress Creek off of Andrews. They also got a title company in-house. If you got any kind of real estate question in terms of closing, they can handle that for you. Make sure you mention 5 Reasons against MarcBrownPA.com. All right, let's get to it. I'm at FTX Arena. Brady is home. Sean is elsewhere. Jonathan Ramlakan is driving cross country. You can follow Jonathan at 3-Piece Combo. Our producer is Alejandro Villegas. You can follow him at Alejandro VG32. S Rochester NBA, and of course Brady Hawk 305. Greg, Ricky will be back with us on another day. All right, it is Depot Day, however. He was just out practicing on the court. Eric Spoelstra was asked about a minutes limit. He was actually fairly forthright today. Eric's getting a little bit more forthright with this kind of stuff. He said maximum 15. We'll kind of scale it up from there. Kyle Lowry is also playing. I'm kind of doing your work for you here, Brady, but I'll get to you with something else. And also Caleb Martin will play. So this is as complete as the Miami Heat have been all season. No Markieff Morris, but that we're hearing is close as well. So knock on something. This is a complete roster. 8-2 since the trade deadline. That's the best record in the NBA since the trade deadline, tied with 2 other teams. They're playing the team with the worst record since the trade deadline, the Houston Rockets, who are 1-9. So, Brady, let's get to it tonight. I mean, obviously the object is to blow this thing out and get as many people as many minutes as possible. So a lot of what we may talk about tonight in terms of rotations may not end up being particularly relevant. But how do you think Spoelstra handles it just kind of in the first half at least?
Yeah, I think no matter, if this is a blowout or if this is a close game, like he's going to probably go the same route with Vic either way. I think it's going to be short stints. Like it's not going to come. I think maybe it comes in 3 different 5-minute increments that he goes through. I'm just kind of interested to see the guys around him because the guys he's going to play with most likely is going to be Tyler Hero. And I feel like I know everybody wants to see him play next to Bam and play next to, obviously all the guys and see what kind of where he looks like he looks his best. But I'm interested to see how he looks with Tyler because I feel like that's where it all comes down to, the 2-man off the bench. I feel like there's still going to be a little bit of rust there. Like the expectations for me are not really high, specifically tonight, because it's just what happens when a guy returns. But I'm specifically looking at the stuff defensively because if he has that same burst, if he has that same lateral quickness, that's going to be shown tonight or any other night that I just feel like the offensive stuff you can't really totally evaluate on this type of night.
Well, and Sean, to that point, and I'll get to Jonathan afterwards, when Depot came in last year, it was a different situation than this year. I mean, this is a deeper team, but also when Hero was playing with another quality player off the bench last year, veteran player in Goran Dragic, Goran couldn't cover up whatever Tyler's weaknesses are. Vic can. Like, it feels like, at least on the defensive end, it's a much better fit with Tyler than anything we've seen before.
Yeah, I think the comparison is more like having sort of like a Caleb/Gabe type player out there than a Goran type player. I think that's the comp. So I do think it's going to fit very well with what Tyler does, and I don't think it's going to take away from what Tyler has been doing either. I think it's a good fit, and I think it's going to benefit everybody.
Jonathan, let's get to the other part of this, which is Kyle Lowry is back in the lineup tonight. In some ways, this is more significant than Victor Oladipo. This is the guy who held this thing together when Bam and Jimmy were out. I know fans were concerned, was Kyle ever going to come back? We knew he would. It was just a question of how much time he was going to take this time around. But how, in your view, does this settle things for them?
This just makes things better a lot on the times that we see the team just get into mucks of where the offense can't get going. I mean, we'll see now with Kyle Lowry, the offense will get going a lot faster, and there will be less times where it just looks like we don't know what to do. Maybe the ball tends to stick, and we know at the end of games where at the beginning of games, we'll be executing and everybody will be moving. At the end of games, they'll stop moving. Everybody will just kind of sit in one spot. Kyle can get everybody moving again. Kyle can get everybody into their spots. And I think that's what he'll be doing. He'll just make everything a lot smoother. He'll butter everything up. And with the addition of Victor Oladipo, I'm curious to see even if they run a couple of minutes, because that's a pretty good defensive backcourt as well, having Kyle and Oladipo in the backcourt. So that'll be fun. And I just think, like I said, it'll smooth everything out. I'm curious to see how he enters and makes Bam better even more just with him, how he's been stepping up.
I think to a certain degree, we need to get out of the context of guards and forwards with this team a little bit here. I think they're going to run so many three-guard lineups where you're not really going to be clear if Vic is the three, if Strus is the three, like who the three is, right? I mean, they've been running Caleb Martin as a four, but this, again, is just how many options they have on the court. By the way, we are putting the comments up. If you have any questions, use the super chat, and we'll make sure that we answer your questions here before we go. Also, do want to mention prizepicks.com. Use the code 5 to get your initial deposit match. I just did an episode with David and David. I went under on Bam's points tonight at 20.5. Feels like a high number for a game that he may not end up finishing. I went over on Christian Wood's fantasy points tonight. He's been putting up numbers even when they've been losing. So I'm going to go that direction tonight. By the way, Duncan Robinson's 8.5 points tonight. But I think he's going to have to get his 3 threes quickly because, again, with all the guards they're going to play, I think that's going to be a little bit challenging. But let's look at one more thing. We talk about Victor and Kyle. If we're talking about 15 minutes now, I mean, conceivably, it could be 20 in 2 weeks. It could be maybe 25 by the end of the season. It feels like, Brady, that would be sort of, I don't know, the ideal point because that would give Spoelstra the option to close with him in the playoffs if he wants.
Yeah, I think that'll be enough time. The thing is about the 15 specifically tonight that I want to say is I don't think we're going to get any tell on what the rotation could look like. I think it's a good thing that Kyle's back because Gabe being the starter would have really just been plugging in. Like you would not learn anything. Kyle being back means you can learn at least maybe something, but it still feels like in a game like this, they may go 10 because when a guy's playing 15 minutes and on a minutes restriction, you'll probably go that deep anyway. It still feels, at least at this moment, Max is going to be the guy that kind of sticks out in a 9-man rotation. But he's probably going to get run tonight. And you mentioned Duncan possibly. I want to kick in with that prize picks. We've seen on nights when there's garbage time, Duncan plays. Like it is what it is. Like he gets reps up, he gets shots up that maybe I could maybe go the other route and say if it's 8.5 points, you may want to go over there.
Yeah, I was looking at a couple of the others. Hero's number, I think 19.5 tonight felt a little high considering he's been over that. But again, a lot of minutes they got to distribute here to the various guards. Sean, I do want to get to one other thing here and just off this a little bit. Again, as I mentioned, they're 8-2 since the trade deadline. The other team in the East that's 8-2 since the trade deadline is Boston. And we haven't really talked about Boston, but they're 2-0 against the Heat this season. I know, obviously, ESPN has an obsession with the Nets and Philly, and that's pretty much it. But it is feeling like we're headed for a situation where the Celtics are actually more of a threat than some of the other teams we've talked about. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, their defense is just disgusting. I mean, they're so good. They switch everything. They have length. They've got Tatum, who can obviously just fill it up. The question, I guess, is if their second guy, and I know Jaylen Brown is very, very, very good, but can he be the second guy they need in the playoff situations? So I would hope they're like a 6 seed, 7 seed on the other side of the bracket, making it tough for somebody else, as opposed to being the 4 or 5 on hopefully our side of the bracket if we can get the number 1 seed.
Jonathan, one of the other things that could be beneficial, obviously, you try to get the win tonight. It would be pretty disastrous if they don't. But then you've got a Cleveland-Minnesota back-to-back coming up. 2 teams that have given the Heat problems, actually. We've talked about Cleveland, but Minnesota's overall skill level, I think, has given them some problems. And I feel like you want to go into that with the ability to maybe rest a guy. Maybe it's Tucker. Maybe it's Jimmy. I think we're getting to the stretch where you don't need to necessarily play your 11 top players, okay, or 9 to 11 top players in some of these back-to-back situations.
This team has shown all season long that they don't need everybody to win games, right? They can use whatever they have, whatever combination of players they have, whether it's 2 stars, 1 star, and a bunch of role players, 3 stars, or like tonight where we might see all 4 of them together. We see that we can win with everybody. So when we're going into a situation where you have a back-to-back, and if we can secure that win on that first night, I really could see the potential where, hey, you have about 3.5 games, 4 games up from the second seed and, the rest of the pack. It's okay to take this game off because everybody else is still going to be playing those games too. And even better, if one of those other teams lose a game, that just opens that gap up a little bit more. So I think with this Heat team, regardless of who plays, we're going to have people taking rests. And I think it's just going to show how good of a coach Spo is because no matter who's playing, we still have a chance to win every single night.
All right, everybody check out Off the Floor. I've been tweeting it out from our account. Brady, Greg, and Alex have as well. That's Inside Insights during the game. We also released a little Markieff Morris information on there. No, I'm not revealing it there. Go to Off the Floor, and you'll find out. We kind of projected where he may come back because I do think it's relatively soon. All right, so let's swing around here. I don't really need a prediction on the game tonight, I hope. Hopefully that doesn't blow up in my face. Let's do a Depot prediction. We know the minutes count now. Sometimes Eric forgets, and the guy will go over, but he kept using the word strict minutes count. So I feel like they are going to hold to it. So give me a stat line, Brady, and we'll see who's closest.
Yeah, last night at 5 on the floor, I said 10 points in 20 minutes. That's why I'm going to cut it down a little bit. I'll still stay a little higher. I'm going to say 8 points in 15 minutes. Like, it still feels like, if you look even last season when he came in, which is a much different situation to be said, that he was still, he was actually playing before he got to Miami. He got shots up in his first game and his second game, and it kind of ramped up. I think it was 6-8, 16-8, or something along those lines, that the points kept ramping up. I think this is a night where in those 15 minutes, guys like Bam, guys like Jimmy, guys like Kyle, those are unselfish guys. They want to see Vic get the ball up. That I think this is a night where maybe, it's not going to be the most efficient, but it's probably going to sit around 7 or 8.
Funny thing about this is they targeted this game for a reason. They wanted it to be at home, and they wanted it to be against the easiest opponent they had during this stretch so that he wouldn't be taxed. I did ask Spoelstra, where is he compared to last year, and he said it's not close. He said he was playing on one leg last year. It's amazing what he did. What do you think, Sean?
Well, I guess I'm filling in Greg's shoes today, so I'm going to be the conservative one on this. He's been kind of pumping the brakes, and I'll let Jonathan be Ricky. So I'm going to go 5 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. I'm going very minimal. I just think – I think limited minutes. I think they're not going to push him. And Jonathan, I apologize for making you Ricky's role.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to go. Since when is Ricky the optimist here? I don't know. All right, Jonathan, where are you going with this?
First of all, Sean, I'm very hurt by that. I'm personally hurt by that. Second of all, I'm going to take the actual Greg role and give you guys the real. He's going to drop 40 points tonight in 15 minutes. He's going to go 11 for 11 from 3. He's going to get some free throws going, get a couple steals, and he's probably going to catch a body as well.
Yeah, you lost me at 11 for 11 for 3. Maybe the other stuff. All right,
but realistically though, I do think he gets. He'll probably stay under around 9 points, but I think he gets a couple of good assists and he probably gets a steal.
I think most of it's going to be done on the defensive end tonight. I feel like that is where he fits in most easily. I think you're going to see the hero dynamic with him. I am curious to see where the Vincent minutes come from. That's something I'm watching tonight. I know it's hard to gauge it. There are minutes for Caleb tonight as a backup for this Houston team's not particularly big off the bench. But so it may be Gabe that squeezed a little tonight. I'm just curious again, where does Strus play? Does some of these other, or is that really garbage time situation right now? Like, this is something that has to be balanced a little bit. I'm sure that Eric had the conversation with the players about, this is going to be a little bit of a work in progress here. I feel like you kind of want to play with things here for the next 4 or 5 games. Then I think you're going to see about a 5-game test run for the playoffs after that. And then ideally you're comfortable enough in the number 1 spot that you can start to sit guys. So we'll see where that goes. But I'm going with Depot tonight. I think he gets a couple steals, maybe 5 points, does a little something at the line, plays 12 minutes. And I think people will generally be pretty happy with that. All right, check out prizepicks.com. Use the code 5. Thanks to everybody for watching. Also, markbrownpa.com, Biscayne Bay Brew. Make sure you're signing up for Off the Floor. We're doing giveaways there and all kinds of stuff. I'll have Alex with me here at the game. I don't know who's on the pod yet. We got to discuss that, Brady. Pace and space at halftime and post up 5R after the game. Have a good night.
All right. Before you guys leave, stay here with us because we're going to play today's podcast. Today's Depot Day. So we have a special podcast for you guys right after Eric Spoelstra, who talked a little bit about how they're going to handle Victor Oladipo's minutes as he's coming back tonight to face the Houston Rockets. So let's go ahead and play that right away, and then we'll hear the entire podcast.
Vic, Kyle, and Caleb, please.
They all went through shoot around, and they are all warming up with the intention to play.
Coach, when you think about specifically what the second group has done, particularly over the last few games, everything is fueled on the offensive side, obviously, by Tyler, but he's been joined seemingly by another player or two throughout this little stretch. What do you like most about that second group right now?
That they've gained incredible trust and confidence from everybody. The starters absolutely love it. They're enjoying their success, and they've had a lot of nights where the second unit has been able to finish it off in the fourth quarter. That's an incredible luxury to have. They've also gained so much confidence that if we do have starters that are out for whatever reason, that everybody has confidence that they've played enough productive winning minutes, that have led to wins, that they can step right in and fill different kind of roles. They're very inspiring. They inspire everybody with their efforts, their defense, their enthusiasm. All of that stuff has just been great for our ball club.
With Vic, it's obviously been almost a year since he's played. Is there a hard minutes limit?
Yeah, there is. A lot of that will be between the training staff, myself, and Vic. But we're going to be very mindful. That this is a great step. Coming off of surgery and all the work that he's done behind the scenes. But we're going to temper it with, temper the expectations. There will be a strict minutes restriction. And that'll be about 15 minutes. And then we'll build it, from there, but it's not going to happen, overnight. This is more just about celebrating that he's healthy and able to be back on a basketball court in a game. And, particularly, tonight and, for the foreseeable future, this is just about getting his feet wet, and get him slowly acclimated, into the group. But this is not going to be something, where he's playing 30 minutes. That's not realistic right now.
Eric, is there any way to assess where he is physically as compared to when he came to you last year?
He's better. Well, by all the metrics and measurements and everything that the training staff has tested him on, it really is remarkable what he was able to do last year, basically on one leg. So this is probably the best he's felt since before 3 years ago, before the injury. This has been a very taxing and tough 3 years for him. He's played 52 games in 3 seasons, less than 2,000 minutes. And he's had just incredible fortitude, to be able to battle and fight and continue to improve and get healthy. And right now, everybody has categorically said that he's in a much better place physically, than he was last year when he first arrived.
All right, Coach. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that was Coach Eric Spoelstra talking about tonight's matchup, Miami Heat facing the Houston Rockets. So let's go ahead. Today's Depot Day. So thank you all of you guys for all your messages. And let's now listen to the latest podcast on 5 on the Floor. The guys talking about who else? Victor Oladipo. So let's go ahead and let's listen to that podcast right away. Stay with us. We have a lot of content for you guys. So stay here. It's finally Depot Day.
Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app. We're on Podbean, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We're also on Dash Radio on their Nothing But Net channel. It's every single weeknight at 7 p.m. Also, check out the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Before Floor, an hour before every game, posts up 5R as soon as the game ends. Make sure you hit the subscribe button because that's not all we have. We cover all the pro teams there as well as MMA, so you'll get the streams whenever they come on. Also, 5reasonsports.com, new article from Brady Hawk on there right now about Tyler Hero and another part of the game that he's mastering. We do not have a paywall on our website. And check out the great sponsors of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. That includes our friends over at NordVPN. NordVPN online security starts with a click. NordVPN encrypts your internet traffic and hides your IP and virtual location. NordVPN helps protect you against bandwidth throttling from internet providers where ISPs slow down your internet
to get you to upgrade. NordVPN allows you to switch your country IP address to access Netflix, Disney Plus, YouTube Premium, and all of those other services in other countries for cheaper prices. They offer unparalleled browsing security and protection from hacking of personal data. So get your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/5RSN or use the promo code 5RSN to get a discount on your NordVPN plan plus 1 additional month of service for free and a bonus gift to checkout. And you'll always get NordVPN's 30-day money back guarantee. So check them out at nordvpn.com or go to nordvpn.com/5RSN to get your special promotion. And now, tonight's episode.
Down the Biscayne. Yeah. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frauds. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Check the floor.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat, we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
All right, Ethan Skolnick back on 5 on the Floor. Here's tonight's floor plan. We got the full crew here tonight. We've got Greg Sylvander. You can follow him at Greg Sylvander. We've got Alex Toledo at Tropical Blanket and Brady Hawk at Brady Hawk 305. Make sure you're checking out Off the Floor. That's our exclusive service. We're offering content there all during the game. Alex was giving you his masterclass from the arena. You do not get this stuff on Twitter. You don't get it on YouTube. You don't get it here. We didn't cut anything back. We've just added some stuff. It's just $3.05 a month. So give it a shot. There's, I think, 4 days left in the free trial. So give it a shot this week and then see if you want to keep it for the entire season. Okay. So again, go to my Twitter page at 5 Reasons Sports and you will find the link. All right, let's get to it. If you're listening to this on the 7th, if the clock has struck midnight, it is already Depot Day. And we've been waiting for this for a while. We didn't know, at first it would be before the All-Star break, right after the All-Star break. We're not too far out. They took their time. They've been pretty forthright about everything that's gone on with this. The Heat have, in comparison to some other injury situations, they've kind of kept the updates coming of late. They've shown a lot on their social media. There's an excitement in the building about his return, and there's an excitement from him. You've seen it on the sidelines. We saw it again last night, Alex and I did, particularly when Pepas comes on. But even before that, it started at the first scrimmage that Brady and I were at, where Depot was much more into this than he was last season when he joined the team. And then, of course, got hurt after just 4 games. But Greg, we're going to start here because we're going to talk about this season. But your information, and this is something we haven't shared anywhere else, is this is as much about next season as it is this season.
Yeah, I'm actually glad that you led the way that you did about this being such a unique opportunity for Oladipo, because I was told directly that this is as much about prepping him long term and making the best decisions for him and the team. So I guess how that really, like, the way that I internalize that information is that they're working in concert. Like, this is a player and an organization that are committed to one another. And the idea that Oladipo is like this lightning in a bottle that Miami wishes to catch for one playoff run, and then he'll go elsewhere and that will be the end of it. I just think that that's a little short-sighted. The organization is really looking at this with a longer view, and they're as much prepping him for next season as they are prepping him right now. That doesn't mean if he comes in and plays great that he's not going to get a role. I mean, obviously, if he looks great, he'll play. But I just think that the idea that, like, he's coming in to save something, or that he was this act like the missing piece, like that kind of stuff, I don't think the organization is approaching Depot Day that same way. And that's okay. Like, we could still be super excited about it, and he doesn't have to be the savior also.
Well, let's start from next year and then come back. All right. And Greg, I'll stay with you on this one, and then we'll bring in Alex and Brady on some of the hoop stuff. So let's look at this because we've discussed this on previous podcasts, where he would fit down the road. And they have a lot of guards on this roster signed to contracts. I mean, Gabe Vincent has a contract for next year. Tyler Hero looking for an extension, but he has a contract for next year. Kyle Lowry obviously has a contract for next year. Max Strus, I guess you can consider him more of a 3. He has a contract for next year. Duncan Robinson has a significant contract for next year. That's a lot of guards. I mean, this is one of the reasons that the Goran Dragic thing didn't make a whole lot of sense to the Heat, because they're going to have this surplus of guards. But I've said that Goran could be back next year if it clears out a little bit. So what would it even look like? Like, who's affected by his presence? Because I can't imagine if they're considering him to be an option down the line. Like, he's not looking at himself. If he's healthy, he's not going to look at himself as a 7th man, which essentially is what he would be if you still have all the bodies that are there right now.
Yeah, you're right. I think that to think he's going to come out and play to that level, I don't know how realistic it is. I just think people should temper their expectations in terms of how quickly he's going to regain that form. And I don't mean to be like, we have Tropical Blanket on the podcast, but I don't mean to be a wet blanket on this podcast about Depot at all. It's just, I don't foresee him coming in and being, so good that he ends up being able to go out and get 18 million per this summer. Like that there's just not enough of a sample size remaining, and also not a large enough of a role, I don't think, with this particular group, as well as they're playing, for him to go out and build that kind of equity ahead of free agency. So that's just where I think they have been even more careful than maybe they had planned on being to start the season, because they're seeing that this is something that could be more of a long-term proposition versus just lightning in a bottle this playoff run.
All right, Alex, I'll go to you on this, because if you're getting, 90% of old Victor Oladipo, we've kind of put that number 80 to 90%, maybe best case scenario here. Talking about a 2-time All-Star. You're talking about a player who was in line for a max contract, who supposedly turned down something like a max contract from the team that the Heat are playing next, which is Houston. And, he's playing on the minimum. He bet on himself. We've talked about the idea that, I gave him a lot of credit for it, honestly, because I know he didn't have a ton of options, but it was humbling. There's no question about it. Greg makes the point that Depot is going to play before Kendrick Nunn. He's also going to play before Markieff Morris and before Ben Simmons. Okay. So there's a whole lot of guys he's playing ahead of, but take a look at it, Alex, from this perspective. I mean, if you're building a championship, dynasty type core, you can have a lot of really good players that can try to fit together. But if you have a guy who's trying to go out and ultimately sort of recoup money that he lost over the past couple of years and recoup his place in the league, it wouldn't seem that this would be the best place to be down the line, right?
That's a good question. And I think the answer, it's not necessarily the place to be if you're trying to cash out. That's for sure not the case. But I do think it's like, if you prove yourself in a role, and I agree with everything Leif said about as far as like what my expectations for him this season. I expect him to be effective, but not effective to the point where teams are going to be bidding for him to the degree that Leif was talking about there. Like, I think it's going to take a lot more than that. Maybe like if he does it for a whole season again, another playoff run next season, and teams can start trusting him again, maybe you could get into a scenario like that. But I think that's looking down the line. I don't think that happens this offseason. I think Oladipo would have to be averaging like 25 a game by the playoffs for anything like that to be happening. It would have to be something insane. And I don't know if he's going to be playing at that level. I just think it's going to be a very gradual type of role that he's going to get. It's going to be steady in the sense that it won't be that much. Like, I think it'll be kind of hovering around Dedmon's minutes if I had to guess. So, like, I think Depot is going to get a shot, but these other guys are playing so well. They're all playing so well collectively as a team with a 3-game lead over, the second seed, that it's going to be hard for Spo to, I think, give Depot so much playing time that he's going to get priced out like that this summer.
But Brady, there are certain things he adds. We've talked about what they've been missing. I'm going to go through a short list here. You put them in order. Rim pressure, something that they don't have from a ton of other guys. Poise down the stretch. Another potential catch and shoot player from various spots on the floor. And another point of attack defender. Which of those things do you think is most significant now?
I think rim pressure would be really high for me just because that is the missing piece here. And I think a lot of it is, the healthy thing kind of logs into this, but the free throws I think would be a lot higher. I looked at, obviously the 4 games he played with Miami, 3 of those games he had 5 free throw attempts, which is just wild because that obviously wasn't his best form. But next to Tyler Hero, and I've said this a lot, it's like, if you were to form the perfect player to put next to Tyler off the bench, it would be a healthy Victor Oladipo, which is crazy because if he's just semi what he was, like you don't need a lot. It's just the rim pressure. It's the ability to put Tyler off the ball at times with that bench unit and a guy be able to get to the rim. Like we've seen it be so effective with this bench unit, but like Caleb Martin's not a guy you can put on the ball for him to put major rim pressure in a pick and roll. Victor Oladipo can. The element that I think is right behind rim pressure is the point of attack defense. Like I feel like what's going to keep him on the floor and what's going to keep him hovering around the minutes that Alex was just talking about is the defense. Like if he's at the speed, I feel like that's what I'm going to be watching. Like first off, like I want to see the lateral quickness. I want to see the things he can provide defensively. I don't think he's one of those guys though, that really just totally drives off quickness. Like a lot of guys in this league do. Like I feel like he's been and shown that he's just a straight up solid defender, that he can do it. But that's kind of what I'm expecting. And I'm right there with both of you about the expectation thing. Like, honestly, my expectation is kind of what we saw from him in a Heat uniform in those 4 games. Like at the beginning, at least, that's just kind of what I expect. Like there's going to be a ramp up, obviously. I don't think the minutes and rotation stuff we're going to have major discussions about early because obviously his minutes are not going to be high in the first couple of games. Like there's going to be a ramp up there as well. But that's just kind of what I expect. Like I feel like we're going to get a glimpse of the things that he can provide, the defense, the rim pressure. But it's not going to be one of those things where you're looking at a stat sheet after the game and seeing, Indiana type Victor Oladipo numbers. But still, as Greg's point and how he started this off, like this is a long-term thing, not only into next season, but this is a playoff thing. Like this is what they need to take that next level in the playoffs, that if they can provide those 2 things, like that's just what this team needs.
All right. When we come back, what I want to get into is that specific point, because this is about the playoffs for this team. And we can talk about the future, but if Depot makes a significant impact in the playoffs, then that will determine the future in some ways, because that's what this is about. We know Kyle Lowry's not back yet. Jimmy Butler's missed time. Bam Adebayo's missed time. PJ Tucker has missed very little time. But all of these guys that obviously Morris, etc. But this was built as a playoff proposition. We can talk about what they've done in the regular season. That is the surprise part. The playoffs part is the part that we were all kind of targeting, and with a lot of that had to do with Oladipo's return and what he would mean here. So we're going to get into that and what he might be able to accomplish in certain matchups in the playoffs when we come back. Before we do, though, I've mentioned that product code 5RSN for NordVPN. Going to give it out to you for 2 other products here that you can get through the 5 Reasons Sports Network. 1, premium CBD. Look, if James Harden was looking to recover the other night from whatever it is he did at Hard Rock, should have gotten some premium CBD. You can get the sports cream, you can get the tincture, you can get the gummies. It helps you sleep. As I mentioned, it can help you recover. 25% off at Therapist Preferred using the code 5RSN. That's the code 5RSN. And also that same code for GetSalice.com. Salice is a product that replaces your electrolytes in a healthy way. You don't have to just pound all the Gatorade all the time. You can get this stuff. It comes in a little box with a bunch of packets. Go to GetSalice.com. This is for endurance athletes, such as runners, tennis players, cyclists. Go to GetSalice.com. They were giving it out. A lot of people were going to the booths at the marathons here in Miami and the mini marathon in Fort Lauderdale. So check it out. GetSalice.com, 10% off. And also, as I mentioned, 25% off at therapistpreferred.com. All right, so let's look at this. And I'm going to, I don't want to go through all of them. Okay, so let's start here with Alex. Which is the matchup in the playoffs that Victor Oladipo, in your view, would make the biggest difference? You can only pick one.
I feel like you always hit me with the toughest questions. Trying to hold me accountable, I guess.
Yes.
If I had to pick which one he makes the biggest impact for the Heat, I guess I go with because I still I think Heat the most problems still in the East, and obviously we saw some of that in the last matchup. I think they're going to need somebody else who can step up in a shot creation type of way in that series, because I don't think we're going to be able to rely on Jimmy to give you 22 every night. You know what I'm saying? Like he's constantly not living up to his scoring averages when he plays them. They're just very good at it. And so I don't know if that's kind of a cop-out answer, but that's the first thing that came to mind. Like, they're going to have great rim protection and great perimeter defense, so maybe that's a series where he could struggle it, actually. But as far as where the Heat could use him, I still think it's them. Like, I think they have what it takes to beat like a team like the Nets already. When you're talking about matchups and taking advantage, I trust them versus the Nets, versus the Sixers, versus all these other teams in the East, even the Celtics. Like, I think he would help against them. Just another guy who could really get to the paint and make something happen after the switches start and things start looking like it's getting in the mud on offense. So teams like the Celtics and the Bucks that really going to make it hard for the Heat to score, I think Oladipo will help a little bit.
You know who they need him most against? The Phoenix Suns. They're not going to have home court in the finals. They're going to need as much, good two-way play as possible from their guards. So for me, I mean, it's the Phoenix Suns in the finals. That's the matchup you're saving Depot for, right?
Or the
Cocky
Warriors,
Heat fan is
Brady,
back.
or the Warriors. You need another body to throw at Steph.
Not the Lakers.
I would think so. That's going to be televised on ESPN. Lakers, Knicks. But yeah, I mean, you would look at him with Curry. I tend to agree with Alex, though. I think Milwaukee is the one of all of these, because it is the one, Brady, where the Heat's wing star can't seem to get a shot off against.
Yeah.
Whereas we saw something completely different with obviously with the way he looked in the last game.
I think, first of all, after that Bucks podcast we did after that Bucks game, I said, like, this is the series where Victor Oladipo could really kind of take over. And it was for all the reasons Alex was just naming, like the shot creation, the ways they could bother Jimmy. Like, it just feels like Tyler's able to kind of get his, as we saw when he dropped 30. But if he can have a guy off the bench next to him that could shot create in kind of a similar fashion, that's what sticks out to me. But to go in a different direction, I'm looking at the 4-5 matchup right now, because obviously that's what they could see in the second round. And two teams that are pretty similar in some ways in Chicago and Boston, they could use a lengthy defender like Victor Oladipo if he's at that level. Like, if you can have a guy, an extra body that you can throw at a DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, a Jason Tatum, a Jaylen Brown, like, that's pretty big, like, in my opinion. Like, that's where I've been saying, like, Caleb Martin's going to be used over Gabe Vincent. But we could be having a total different conversation if Victor Oladipo is playing well offensively, that you have a guy that can play on two ways on that type of game. So I just feel like we can probably make the case for most of these teams because our expectations and it's Depot Day and all these reasons. I would definitely go Bucks 1, but I'm still looking in that bracket that I feel like what's going to put them over the top against these Chicagos and these Bostons, these high-level offenses, is these lengthy defenders that they have and the schemes they could throw at them. That I do want to say also that we talk about Depot's defense and the expectations and everything. This is not last season. Like, last season, we were talking about Victor Oladipo as like their point of attack savior. Like, they had nothing at that spot on the defensive end that they were like, they need Victor Oladipo at this level. They don't necessarily need it. Like, it's just a luxury at this point that if he adds it, maybe it takes him to another level. Maybe it raises his minutes, but it's not really needed. That may be more important. That's why I'd probably put, as I said earlier, the rim pressure a little bit higher.
All right. One more segment here. And what we're going to touch on, we're just going to look ahead to this Houston game. One obviously has significance, been pointing ahead to this for a long time. This is one of his former teams, even if he didn't play there all that long. But how's he going to do on this game? And we made a bunch of predictions before his first game with Miami last year. And I will say he came in under all of them. So I would advise my fellow panelists here to temper the expectations some. But we're going to get to all of their thoughts on it. Before we do, I want to tell you about another sponsor, the 5 Reasons Sports Network, our friends over at All Pro Construction Builders. In South Florida, hurricane season is always around the corner. You got to protect your home or business. Make sure to contact All Pro Construction Builders. They specialize in impact windows and doors for residential and commercial properties. All Pro Construction Builders is a state-certified licensed and insured general contractor that services Miami-Dade, Monroe, but also, I'm supposed to point this out now because they've gotten some calls from us from this county, Broward County. They service Broward, serve Broward as well. Now my Miami people are going to get upset. Everything you guys do is in Broward. It's in Dade and Monroe as well. They use only locally made products, American made. They're family owned and operated. You'll only deal with an owner from start to finish. They offer competitive pricing, but also quality service. So make sure to contact them for a free estimate. Mention 5 Reasons Sports. You get a 10% discount. Here's how you do it. Call Danny at 305-484-4429, 305-484-4429. It's All Pro Construction Builders, excuse me. Check them out on Instagram. All right, let's do this quickly here, and you can play this stuff on Prize Picks. I'm sure he's going to be on the board tomorrow. Make sure you use that code 5, F-I-V-E, on Depot Day. See, I threw in another sponsor there. Let's make the predictions here. Give me minutes. They're playing Houston, okay? So this is a good team to get your feet wet against, although I think the Rockets are winning tonight as we speak. But let's go to it. Brady, you go first, then Alex and Greg. Give me minutes and points for Oladipo tomorrow.
I would probably say around 20 minutes. Like that would kind of be the benchmark I think I would look at. And looking at the points last season when he came in, it was 6, 8, 16, and 18. Like that ramp up was real. Like when I say ramp up, it literally ramped up little by little, game by game. He was 2 of 8 in his first game last year. I think it's probably a little better performance. I'm going to say 10 points in 20 minutes. Still, I feel like my expectations aren't super high, but I feel like you mentioned getting your feet wet. Like this is a thing that I feel like guys like Jimmy and these other guys are really going to feed him, and he's going to get shots up, especially if it's a game against Houston where they should be able to handle them. Both throw him into the fire. I feel like I know they're not going to use him a ton to overuse him, but they're going to put him in different sets to see how he fits. So I'm going to go 10 points in 20 minutes.
Alex?
7 points, 9 minutes. He's going to hit a 3. It's going to be a nice spot up 3, and we're all going to be convinced that he's a shooter and that the spot up stuff is going to hold up because it looks really good. But he's going to get a couple layups where he looks athletic. Everybody's going to get excited, and then everybody's simultaneously going to complain about Spo not playing him enough because he only ends up with 9 minutes.
Greg?
Oh, he's going to play 22 minutes because it's going to be a blowout. He's going to get 12, 4, and 4. He's going to be a little inefficient, but it's basically going to boil down to the fact that he's going to get a lot of minutes in garbage time. That's where I'm going with the first game for Victor Oladipo.
Now, remember, Kyle Lowry's not playing Monday, so there is
that too.
There is
I have
some
PTSD
room,
for Mario Chalmers.
There is some room at the guard position. I don't think we'll see a whole lot of Kyle Guy until the 4th. I'm gonna go that Eric's a little conservative with him. I think to start. I think what happened last year, even though they didn't overload him, the fact that he got injured in the 4th game will make them somewhat tentative here. They have taken their time on this. I think he probably could have gone a couple weeks ago if they were in a different situation. So I'm gonna say 15 minutes. To me, 7 points. Maybe a 3-point play in there that gets people excited. And again, it's the little things here. And I'm with Brady. And just to close here, okay, as everybody checks out our sponsors, NordVPN, use the code 5RSN, same code, a therapist preferred, and gets the lease. And of course, our friends over at All Pro Construction Builders, they don't need a lot right now. They don't need a lot. They're clear in first place in the Eastern Conference. So this is about where can he get in? I think he's been watching them closely enough, and he's intelligent enough that he'll know where the weaknesses are. And as Alex says, they're 22nd in shots at the rim. That's where the weakness is. I'd like to see him get to the cup a couple times. I think if he gets to the cup a couple times, I don't need to see him launch a whole bunch of jumpers. That's a secondary option on this team. They have enough jump shooters on this team, as we've seen of late. All right. Check out our winnow. We call it our winnow. It's off the floor. Okay. So go to off the floor. I'm going to keep posting that until everybody gets it. Okay. It's going to be on all the social media channels. You'll be able to find it. I put it on Instagram, but mostly on Twitter. Everybody have a good night. It is officially, or maybe day, it is officially Depot Day.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us for this pregame show here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. As Ethan, Greg, and all the entire 5 on the Floor crew discussed, this is Depot Day. We finally got here. We're waiting for the Miami Heat to post the starting lineup. We probably won't be seeing Victor Oladipo there, but just to confirm, here it is, posted about 10 minutes ago. Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, Kyle Lowry, and PJ Tucker. So the regular starting five for the Miami Heat. Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, Kyle Lowry, and PJ Tucker. Tonight, the Miami Heat facing the Houston Rockets. Thank you very much. If you haven't done so, please give it a thumbs up to this video. That's helped us to keep growing this community here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel, giving you guys the best content related to our Miami or South Florida teams here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. And also you can subscribe as well if you haven't done so. Very important. Give your comments. We appreciate all you do for us, and we will continue to give you more and more content on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. During halftime, Pace and Spaces on Twitter, and then right after the game, come over here, come to the YouTube channel to talk a little bit about what Victor Oladipo did in this game against the Houston Rockets. The post-op show hosted by Royal Shepherd as soon as the game is over. Have a good night, enjoy the game, and we will see you later on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Bye-bye.